as well, we don't look at hip hop, or we don't see hip hop like we are hip hop.
Right.
So when you're flipping records, you have to know what it sounds like to flip it right.
Totally.
And that's when I started realizing the disconnect and the discordance with myself. You know, flipping certain things. If I'm choosing to flip this, but I don't know what it's supposed to sound like.
Right.
I'm always chasing something, but never knowing when it's there.
When it's there, or not knowing how to, like, see, if you don't have a relationship with the music that you're flipping, playing around with, having fun with, then you're never gonna take that song to a place that is a reflection of who you are. You're just gonna sound like you're copying the DJs that you see on Instagram in battles. And that's the difference between someone like myself or a Qbert and the average person that posts a video of themselves on social media. It's that one, i.e. myself or Qbert, for example, is connecting with the music, building a relationship with the music, and because of that relationship, creativity happens. The other wants to be a Qbert or wants to sound like a Rob Swift, and is just synthetic. There's no authenticity to what they're doing. So they're doing the technique, the beat juggle, they're doing the scratch, but it's not personal. You don't connect with it as someone watching it. You don't connect with it. You understand that there's a technique being demonstrated, but it doesn't really pierce your soul. It doesn't really move you because you're watching someone just copy. So there are differences. Like, there's creativity, and then there's just kind of like posing. You know what I mean? And I bet you any amount of money that although Qbert and I are financially self-sufficient off this art, we'd still be doing it if there were no likes and no money involved. Because this is how we express ourselves. This is how we connect with our higher selves. So that's why I call this area God space, because every time you're on the turntables, you are connecting with your higher self. You're connecting with the part of you that is an extension of God. And I don't say that to sound like, you know, scientific, or like I'm not trying to pontificate. It's a real thing. Like, the minute you start being creative, you're connecting with the element of God that's in you, because God is creation. So when I step to the turntables, I'm aware of that and I'm conscious of that. And I think that's why I've developed and created the routines that people love to hear, like the Dr. Knock boots, the Welcome to the Turtle, the Nobody Beats the Biz, the Bridge and Public Enemy, the Rock the Bells, the Funky for You. All those routines are created because the minute I step on the turntables, I think to myself, here we go. Like, it's about to happen. Like, I'm about to connect with my higher self. Man, let's see what happens. You know what I mean? Opposed to, I want to come up with a routine to post to IG so that I could get this amount of likes and so that this person could follow me. And that's not why I do this shit. That stuff comes with it, but it's not why I do it. You know what I mean? It's not why Qbert does it. It's not why any of the master DJs that people chase after do this. It's because we just enjoy creating and we appreciate connecting with who we are, our higher selves. You know what I mean? So when you can accept that and receive that, you're going to see that when you go to practice, you're just going to get a different feeling when you touch the turntables. And when you start creating, there's just going to be a different response that your body has to, like, being creative, opposed to, I learned this pattern. Like, I'll create, I have patterns that I've created, dude, that no one has seen ever. That no one has ever seen, that I won't post, because it's for me. You know what I mean? It was me being creative. So yeah, dude, it is a powerful art form, man. And I think a lot of people underestimate the importance of the personal aspect of DJing. That it's more than just, you know, getting the residency, then accumulating the money, and then getting the popularity. It's more than that, dude. So much more, dude. So much more. You know? And although I'm well known and I have a long reach, it's not like I've tried. It's not like I'm making an effort every day to get followers or it comes organically with all the work and fun that I've been investing into this art form. All this stuff just kind of follows, you know? So, word.
One last question. I know I've got so many. I know you've put out the 10 root movements out there, but I'm convinced you've got stuff which surpasses all of that, right? You're light years ahead when it comes to
I mean, right? Yo, I'm gonna be honest with you, Vaze. I have root moves that I'll never teach you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have patterns of movement that either you're gonna stumble across on your own or not. Okay. You know what I mean? Now, the 10 root moves that I teach are the foundation of all beat juggles, every beat juggle movement. But I have patterns that are extensions of the root moves that I can teach you.
Yeah,
but I haven't seen anyone do them. So these are patterns that are personal to me.
And you're talking about the world of turntablism.
I'm talking about the world of turntablism, and I'm not saying that to be
I get
pompous or any of that. You know, I study this art form, man, and I see a lot of people do this shit. You know, on video. There are moves that I'm gonna say stumbled across, because I always say, or I feel that the patterns that you see me do, people like Craze, Steve D, already exist. You just have to tap into them. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I created the pattern. On the surface, I could say I created a pattern. I bought 2 records, took them home, and developed a beat juggle. Yeah. But the truth is, the pattern already exists. You are tapping into it. When you start messing around and experimenting, you tap into the pattern. Now, there are patterns of movement that I've stumbled across, because I feel that that's probably, I say that to say stumble across. I use that term to say that's really what happens when you're practicing with either your scratching or your beat juggles. Are you in the vicinity to tap into a new pattern of movement, scratching wise, or are you in the mental or spiritual vicinity to tap into a new beat juggle pattern, right? So there have been moments where I've been practicing where I've tapped into moves, and I'm talking about moves that are like 20 years old that I have yet to see anyone do. Wow. And I'll never teach them, because these are patterns that are personal to where I was when I was practicing. You know what I mean? The root moves that I teach are patterns of movement that are generic patterns that have been augmented and extended into other moves, built off a foundation of movements that, like, dudes like Cutmaster Swift, Steve D, Grandmaster Flash with backspinning.
Yeah.
You know, it's like everyone kind of like adds on text
to
the overall discipline or technique of beat juggling, right? But then within that, you have patterns that are personal to certain DJs. So I'll never teach you those patterns or other students, because these are patterns and moves that are personal to me. That's like...
That's what makes Rob Swift.
That's what makes Rob Swift Rob Swift.
Okay.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think, like, a lot of people
don't get that in this day and age.
You stole the words right out of my mouth.
You're supposed to teach it. You're supposed to give it to me.
Exactly.
Like, man.
You read my mind. I was trying to find a more tactful way of saying that, but that's the truth. That's the truth. So it's like, you know, someone could be watching this on YouTube and think, word, you have new patterns or patterns that have been untouched. Could you make a video showing us these patterns? I'm sure that a comment like that is coming. Right? And then I respond, no, I'm not going to show you my patterns, because these are my patterns.
Yeah.
I was in the mental headspace to tap into these moves. Why should I now give you a part of my soul, a part of my essence? You know what I mean? It's on you to come up with your own original, unique patterns of movement. You need to put yourself in your own creative headspace to tap into stuff so that you're adding on to the text.
And that goes to the foundation of hip hop, right?
Exactly.
Because let's go back, say, years in the 70s. I'd go and see Rob Swift live on a block party because you were going to do patterns that, say, Mixmaster Mike couldn't, or whoever couldn't do down the road.
Right.
So if I want to hear those exact patterns, I've got to go see
Right,
Rob Swift.
exactly.
So why would you be giving it out to somebody else? Just like graffiti artists, they can do it in a certain...
But the thing is, we live in an age now, man, in 2020, where people are entitled and they feel like they're owed this information, and they don't understand the importance of finding the information on their own.
I see.
Because it's like a journey, dude. Like it's a journey. It's a journey. You know what I mean? Right? Exactly. And like, so I could give you the text.
It won't mean the same thing.
It won't mean the same thing. And then when you learn the text, and then when you go to perform the text, you're basically regurgitating what I just gave you.
Yeah.
You're not personalizing it, you know? And the whole point of this is to personalize everything you see people before you do. And that's why there are, in the context of DJing in the last 40 some odd years, every era only has a handful of DJs that stand out.
I'm learning when I'm doing the history.
So the 70s era had Bambaataa, Kool Herc, Flash, Theodore, Jazzy J, right? These are a handful of the names, among others.
Did DXT fall in that?
I would say DXT came the generation after, because Kool Herc and Bambaataa are the, and Kool Herc, Bambaataa, and Flash are the root of, they're the, no, let me rephrase that. Kool Herc, Bambaataa, and Flash are the seeds of all this. They're the seeds of all this. Theodore, in relation to DJing specifically, I mean, he is the first one to engage the turntable beyond just playing music or extending a break. Like, he literally decided to do more for the crowd that was listening to him and move the record back and forth and coax this quote-unquote scratch sound, right? So Theodore, for me, with regards to DJing and turntablism, is the equivalent of what Flash, Bam, and Herc are to hip hop.
I see.
Right? And then after Theodore came Grandmixer DST, and DST again personalized everything that Theodore was doing regarding moving the record back and forth and coaxing this scratch sound.
Because you put the fader in now.
Right. Put the fader in, all his work with the likes of Herbie Hancock. You know? Now he's showing us that this is a percussive instrument.
Boom.
Right?
You hit it.
And then, so you had the 70s era, which was Herc, Bam, Flash, Theodore. The 80s era, you had DJs like Grandmixer DST, Mixmaster Ice, Marley Marl, Cash Money, Aladdin, Cutmaster Swift. Right?
Oh wow!
You put him up there like definitely. Okay. Cutmaster Swift. Cutmaster Swift contributed so much to this art form with regards to beat juggling. You can't deny it.
Yeah.
You can definitely.
Man, I know him, but I don't even talk to him like that.
Yes. When you go back, shake his hand. When you go back to London, shake his hand. Because a lot of the eighth note, that stems from Cutmaster Swift. Watched 1988 DMC, 89 New Music Seminar Battle for Supremacy. All the eighth note fills. That's Cutmaster Swift. Jazzy Jeff, I include in the 80s era. You know, a handful of DJs in the 80s era. 90s era, you had Steve D, myself, Qbert, Mixmaster Mike, Shortcut, Rock Raider, Mr. Sinister, Babu. I put Craze.
He's right at the end.
He's right at the end, right? He's at the end. Craze I put in the end of the 90s era, and he remains in the early 2000s as well.
But in 2000s, there's no one else but Craze, right?
To me, with regards to redefining this art, I'm not trying to shit on anybody that has come after Craze, but as far as redefining this art and taking it past the handful of DJs from the 90s era, Craze is, to me, the last.
That's it. It stops there.
I mean, everyone else, there have been DJs that have come after Craze that are amazing, but everything that I've seen since Craze is basically like add-on. It's an add-on to what already has happened or occurred. And that's to be able to take something that someone else has done and add on to it is a feat onto itself.
But you're talking about going into God's space.
But I'm talking about, like, as far as like you personalizing this art form, you personalizing it. You know what I mean? Like, you know, now we're 2020 and you have DJs that are killing it and winning battles and making noise, but like, have they redefined the art? You know, I can't say that I've seen anyone since Craze really do anything that it's like when you think about beat juggling, for example, or scratching, or even body tricks, there's just so much information. There's so much that has been contributed already. And I feel like Craze, to me, is the one name that stands out, that is an example of a DJ that, regardless of what was done already before him, figured out a way to stand out amongst all those legendary DJs. So yeah, man, I think every era from the 70s to the 80s to the 90s to the 2000s has a handful of DJs that are incredible and progressive, and then there's the majority that basically just copy. So you, as a student, need to think, do I want to be in the majority, or do I want to be in that, you know, upper echelon fucking small class of DJs that stand out and have contributed, you know? So that's why I always push to you and the rest of my students, here's the root move. We're gonna learn it. Once you master it, try to take it further, you know? Because what I'm doing is I'm teaching you basically how to get your brain to communicate with your hand. I'm not really teaching you how to be creative when you're training with me in the realm of the root movements. I'm just teaching your brain how to communicate with your limbs, with your hands. The creativity then follows, you know? And in order to be creative with this art, you have to physically know what you're doing. So,
because Rob, Qbert said, mimicked the same thing you said when I asked him about beat juggling and patterns. He said they're infinite.
Infinite.
And I didn't say, Rob said that. I said quiet. And I said, what do you mean by infinite? And he said, look, there's an infinite amount of patterns.
Infinite.
But I said, you know, I don't hear them when they're beat juggling. He goes, no, everyone's using the same ones. He goes, but there's infinite.
It's infinite.
And I said, are you sure? And he said, look, it cannot end when it comes to patterns. There's infinite.
It cannot end.
And that was the end of the conversation.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
He's right. When I used to train with Dr. Butcher, I always appreciated this about him. There would be times where I'll arrive to his house, put my record back down, we talk for a little bit, and then he'd be like, all right, let's train. But, Rob, let's forget everything we know. he'd be like, yo, let's forget that we know how to DJ and approach this like we're just new to this and we're just trying to figure out how to make music out of these turntables. That's what he would tell me. And sure enough, we would always develop and create shit when we approached the turntables with that mentality. The majority of DJs out there don't. What they do is they get on the set and they're trying to mimic that move or that scratch that they just saw on Instagram from their favorite DJ. So, whereas someone like Dr. Butcher is, let's forget what we know and just start with a clean slate. That's the infinite mindset that Kubert's talking about. The average or the majority goes to the set and says, all right, this dude just did this. I need to learn it. And then once I learn it, I'm going to post it so that people see that I learned what this dude just did. And then they get the likes, and then that kind of like whatever, whether it fucking releases endorphins in them or, you know, in their brain and shit. They're like, all right, now I got to learn something else so that I can post a new video so I can get more likes.
They're never getting creative.
And they're never getting creative.
I see.
So you could learn a flare, you could learn a snare pattern, you could learn a chirp flare, you could learn the Sucker MC snare fills, but that's just you regurgitating. Yeah. Only a handful of DJs interpret and personalize. Only a handful.
Like Raider. He won the World Championships. I was literally watching the video like 2 nights ago, and it just hit me. I was like, this is a whole production, man. This is, you know, I was like, that's a whole new beat.
That's him using the turntable like an instrument or like a sampler. You know?
Oh man, spacey.
Head exploding right now, right?
My consciousness is expanded.
Yeah.
And there's more questions.
No, always ask questions, man. These are important things for you to know as a student of this art, man, because you don't want to blend in with the average DJ. You want to separate yourself, man, and you want to think like, you know what, man, there's a creativity in me that I need to tap into and bring forth. Not, I want to learn how to do what that guy did. There's a creativity in me that I want to bring forth and share with people, and I'm going to use the turntable as my tool, as my medium to accomplish that. That's the mentality that you want to have as a DJ. If you want to stand out. Now, if you want to blend in with everyone else, sure, watch the tutorials, copy everything, then go do them out, you know, in your sets, do them in a battle. But I guarantee you, you will not win a prestigious battle doing that. You got to be creative on some level, you know? And even if you do win a prestigious battle, your name won't really...
No clout.
Yeah, like... You want your name to stand the test of time. So you could win the hardware, you could win a fancy mixer, and then next year you're forgotten once the new champion arises, right?
Yeah, that happens a lot.
Right. I've never won a world title. And if I die tomorrow, I know for a fact that my name has been inked into the
Soulful Fruit.
Yeah, all my projects, all the albums, all the work that I've done. I know that I've etched my name in the history books of this art form, not because I won a trophy, but because of what I've contributed of myself. You know what I mean? And how that's helped people. So to accomplish that, man, yeah, dude, you wanna personalize everything that I teach you and everything that you learn from watching other DJs. And I'm not saying don't study people. Study other DJs by all means. But when you get to the turntables to practice,
free your mind.
And look within yourself. Don't approach the turntables with the mentality of, I gotta learn what this guy just did. You know? Because then you're always gonna be chasing.
Also, as well, doing the knowledge, there was thousands of turntablists, like you were saying, through those years, watching those battles, watching the stuff that got put out on Battle Sounds, seeing all like some of the stuff you were judging. I'm seeing all these turntablists, and I'm like, we get to now, and it's like you said, there's only a handful still looking like they're still rocking. I'm like, what happened to that other 98%?
Yeah.
And then I do the knowledge on turntablists who release albums, because like yourself, you're a musician in your own right, and then it's really thin again, and I'm like, where's the disconnect between turntablists who are battling, like you said, copying and following moves, to not even getting to this album status, which you kind of look at it like you guys were all producing on turntables, you were all had a production in you. Why wasn't everybody else releasing albums? Like you got 2 albums, Rock Raiders got albums, Cuba, DJ Shadow's got albums. DJ Shadow, I haven't even seen him battle. I didn't even
never battled in his life, but is still having an impact on DJ art. I think people in general are very small-minded, and they can't see beyond a residency at a club, or they can't see beyond winning a competition. That's why, bro, there are DJs, Vaze, that I know personally that have competed for 10, 12, 13, 15, 20 years. Yeah. And that's all they have to show for their career is a competition. Wow. Like they can't see past getting on a stage and performing for 6 minutes for like 200 people. Oh. They can't see past that. Again, that mindset of infinite possibilities, right? Yeah. They have more limited parameters within their scope of what you could do as a DJ or what you can accomplish. You know, when I was training by the age of 18 for my first DMC battle, and I told myself I'm gonna do this for 2 years.
Oh wow!
That's it. I'm gonna do 2 years of battling, and when I'm done competing, I want to experience touring and DJing for a rapper. After I won my battle at the DMC in '92, Akinelli asked me to be his DJ. So then I started touring with him, and I got to travel. First time I got on a plane since I was like maybe 4 or 5 years old was when I was like 20 with Akinelli. Wow. We went to Atlanta, I remember. Wow. So now we're touring. I'm recording scratches. I'm now...
And I haven't even heard the album. My friend's got Vagina Diner. I noticed you're supposed to be in the inlay, right?
Yeah. I'm in it.
And you got publishing on there as well?
No, I didn't get publishing for scratching. He just paid me like a flat fee. Okay. He paid me a flat fee for doing the album scratches, and he gave me an SP 1200.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Did
it go gold? Did you get a plaque as well?
No, the album didn't go gold. Oh. But again, that's not why.
I get it now. Right? I'm getting it. Yeah.
We just did that album to be creative. But I experienced being a recording artist, touring, and then after that, it was about me establishing myself. Because I remember thinking, all right, it's been a few years now, 2-3 years. I'm touring with this respected rapper, Akinelli. Yeah. But I eat when he eats. I make a move when he says we're gonna make a move. I want to be able to call my own shots. I want my own plate to eat off. And that's when I told Raider, Sin, Eclipse, yo, let's form our own thing and become our own proper recording artists. And I convinced them to leave their perspective rappers and rap groups. So Raider was like, all right, I'm gonna bounce from DITC. Whoa. Sin was like, all right, I'm gonna leave this Common thing alone. Eclipse was DJing for Organized Confusion. He was like, yo,
Pharrell.
Yeah. Oh man. Pharrell.
And what's it? The other guy.
And Prince Poe.
Yeah. Oh wow.
And I was DJing for Akinelli, and we all left our groups and became recording artists and released expressions on Asphodel Records. And then after that, I was like, okay, this Executioners thing is cool, but I'm not really experiencing my true self. Like, I'm knowing that as an executioner, I always had to take into consideration when we were being creative what the other 3 guys wanted to do.
Yes.
But I wanted to experiment and try shit like salsa scratch and collaborate with like bands, and that just wasn't something that was the identity. That just wasn't the identity of the executioners.
You're right.
So then I started doing solo albums. So it's like you can't be afraid to walk away from something, like whether it's walking away from your battle career, walking away from DJing for a rapper, walking away from being in a DJ crew and going solo. You can't be afraid of walking away from things, because in that uncertainty, that's where you discover yourself again, that journey, and you start to kind of like, even through the hardships, like you discover yourself, and that kind of propels you in whether it's like a creative struggle, you don't have your guys with you no more and you got to be creative on your own. Maybe it's a financial struggle, you're solo, you're not making the kind of money that you were making when you were DJing for this guy. But all that is always a temporary experience, and when you get through it, you look back and you're like, yo, damn, like I'm a better person for all this shit that I experienced, you know what I mean? And now I'm sharper creative.
I see.
Now I'm sharper as a creative being.
Yeah.
I'm sharper with my finances. When struggle or adversity comes, I know how to handle it. I'm not going to panic because I wasn't afraid of walking away from other things and encountering the adversity that comes to you. You know what I mean? Or, you know, in less dire terms, when you go to be creative, right?
Yeah.
When you go to be creative, you're not intimidated because you fucking experienced it all. You know what I mean? You have that confidence. So I teach you guys to be independent of me. And that's why it's always at the end of our lessons, all right, have fun learning the pattern, see what else you could do with it. It's not wait for me until you move on. No, master the pattern, see what else you could do with it, because that's where you, again, like tap into, oh, I get this whole shit, man. Like it's me being creative, me expressing myself, not me learning a pattern. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah, man.
I see. So what would be the correct motivating factor for winning a battle? Because it's funny you're saying this. Cubert's motivation as well was not to show off or anyone to win the battle either. When talking to him, he was like, he was doing it every day because he loved it. He was like, I was living like a boxer. He was like, I was getting up, that's what I was doing, just doing this. And he said, you know, the battle kind of just evolved from there. So
I will answer it this way. You battle to experience yourself on the journey of accomplishing a goal. That's why you battle. So, or that's why I battled. Other people may battle for the hardware. They want to win a piece of equipment so that they could say they won a piece of equipment, or maybe they're going to sell it, or whatever the case is, right? Or put it in a glass fucking shrine and look at that piece of plastic and it's going to remind them that they won a competition. But me personally, I entered competitions and work towards winning a battle to experience myself entering the competition and practicing and winning the battle. Does that make sense? Yeah. It's to experience
feels
yourself.
like.
Right.
What does that feel
exactly.
like? Yeah.
Exactly. It's not. Yo, when I entered my first competition, it was 1991. The East Coast DMC battle. I placed third. I practiced for 7 months. Dr. Butcher helped me train. And I wanted to at least come in second place. I didn't think I had a chance to win, to be honest with you, because Steve D was in a battle. And I mean, I'm a New Jack rookie competing alongside a fucking veteran, progressive legend in Steve D. But I knew I had a chance for second place. And when I assessed everyone that was in that competition, I was like, yo, I know I'm taking second. There's no way I'm not going to get second place. I placed third. And personally, as a side note, I feel that I was robbed. No disrespect to the guy that came in second. It was a guy named DJ Supreme, who's I consider a friend and a colleague.
The same one who battled Rock Raider.
Yeah, but Clark Clark Kent was his mentor.
It's the same routine where you loop, do the melody, and
I didn't do any. That wasn't even a reality yet. I didn't create those routines. I had other shit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
But long story short, Clark Kent
favored him. I feel.
I'm trying to find that's cool. I don't want to be controversial, right?
Yeah.
But naturally, if you're a judge and your mentee is in a competition, there's implicit bias written all over that. Yeah. And whether you realize it or not, you're gonna favor the guy that you're training, right? Yeah. So he came in second. I walked on stage, collected my prizes. They were like, how do you feel? As they were asking me that, I was flinging my prizes into the crowd. Because it wasn't about the hardware. I could care less what I was winning. I wanted to just experience myself accomplishing what I set out to do, which was at least come in second place. So they gave me the prizes and I threw them into the crowd. And I remember when I got off stage, I was so mad that I was fucking crying. I was in a corner crying, and I heard people in the background yo, why is he crying? Why did he throw his prizes? And people didn't understand. It was not about the prizes. You know what I mean? I wanted to experience myself accomplishing my goal. Thankfully though, right after that, Steve D asked me and Dr. Butcher to become members of the X-Men. So when I look back, I actually did accomplish my goal.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it because I was so mad, because I was so fixated on second place, and I didn't realize that there was way more on the horizon that I just could not receive, that was already in the mix that was happening. But to answer your question, when you're entering a battle, you could enter it for the hardware, to win the needle, or the Serato records, or the slip mats, or the mixer, or the gold 1200, or now it's a Rain 12, right? Or you could enter the battle to experience yourself on the journey of winning a competition, and it not be about the prizes at all, And that's why for me, it was 2 years. I'm doing this for 2 years, win or lose. And I won the battle that I sought out to win. I accomplished that, and then it was okay, stepping stone, on to the next thing. Now I want to DJ for a rapper. Okay, experience that for 3 years. Stepping stone, on to the next thing. Executioners, we're gonna record our own albums. Experience that. Okay, stepping stone, solo album. Experience that. Okay, now I'm DJing on ESPN, and you just keep moving forward. You know what I mean? You keep moving forward.
Kubert says the same thing, but in a different language.
Yeah.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
To someone like Precision, I noticed he won all these battles. Precision got all these, and that's where it starts and stops there.
Right.
It literally starts with Ill Insanity, and then it does all these battles, and then it ends. And I'm like, man, this guy's dope. Where's the rest?
Yeah, I mean, we all have different reasons for why we do what we do. You know what I mean? And that's not to say that my reasons are more admirable or more important, but for me, it's not about the hardware, and it's not about the title.
I see.
For me, it's about the experience of achieving a goal. Or if it's practicing, it's the experience of creating a routine and tapping into myself. If I'm on stage, it's the experience of sharing my creativity with people. That's what it is for me. For other people, if they're on stage, it's so that they could take the groupie home. You know what I mean? Yeah. For someone else, if they have the residency, it's for the experience of making the money, right? If I'm competing, it's for the experience of holding up the trophy at the end of the competition and someone taking a picture of me and then that picture going viral. You know what I mean? Why are you doing this? Everyone, different people have different reasons for why they do this.
Know the game before you play type of thing.
Yeah. And that's why right now I've immersed myself so much into teaching, because I just want people to at least know how deep and the depth involved regarding this art form. You know what I mean? That on the surface, it's all techniques and man, this dude, he could scratch so dope and oh my god, his beat juggles are insane and so advanced. On the surface, it's about that. But underneath, dude, there's so much other shit that like revolves around this art form.
Like this, the history of the art form, because you were there at the birth of hip hop, right?
I was a kid. I was born in 72. Hip hop was born in 74.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, I'm not going to say I was there, but I had an older brother that was around. And he ushered me into this culture. And like father would, his son or daughter, he kind of like schooled me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But what I'm finding when I'm doing my research is that all the greats have their roots in in hip hop, its foundation, its birth. Does that make sense? Due to maybe age or who they were around. I don't know Craze's age, or I've never met Craze, or he doesn't really have that much out online for me to check it out. But like once that age gap kind of disappears, a big disconnect disappears between the turntablists as well. Like, I'm born 83, so I grew up listening to hip hop from Snoop Dogg, Luke, you know. So until going through my dad's record collection, I didn't know who Run DMC was when I was like 8 or 9. Right. If I'm going to be honest, I didn't know. You know, and then coming up, you had Wu-Tang and things like that. I didn't get into like breaks and knowing that this stuff was sampled until say 18, 19, which was quite late. When I'm like, oh, this was this is what inlays me. Right. And, listen, and I feel that disconnect is getting bigger. Yeah. Because of obviously technology now. You get an album, if there's samples in it, it's downloaded. Right. So there's no inlay to even. Yeah. There's no record to.
No liner notes.
No, nothing. So now this new generation is just getting music.
Exactly.
But that connection to the past disappears.
That's why a lot of kids now that post videos of themselves on IG or YouTube or even compete, they'll have some amazing routines, but if you stopped them after they got off stage and asked them, what was the artist's name or the song title of that second song that you threw on and was doing that juggle to, a lot of them wouldn't be able to tell you because they don't care about the music that they're really working with. They care about the technique they're applying to the music. So it's not like they're getting the music, sitting down, listening to it, building a relationship with the artist, with the producer, learning the words to the song. No, they just know this song has 8 bars that I could scratch to if I loop the 8 bars, or I could come up with a beat juggle to. And then once they're done tapping into or creating that juggle or that scratch routine, the rest of the song doesn't matter. They're not listening to the rest of the song. If I use myself as an example, if it wasn't for Public Enemy, I wouldn't have connected with my sense of who I was as a young black teen in the late 80s. So I loved Public Enemy, and that's why Welcome to the Terror Dome became one of my staple routines. I'm from Queens. Marley Marl was from Queensbridge. Yeah. Literally 10-minute drive from here in Jackson Heights. He was on the radio, WBLS. Everything that Marley played on the radio, everything that he produced, I gravitated towards because Marley was a hero of mine. Hence, my routines with Nobody Beats the Biz. MC Shan, The Bridge. Right? Let's say another classic routine of mine, Heartbeat by a group named War. That's the Funky For You routine. That routine, you know why I created it? Because the first time I heard the Heartbeat song by War was on a college radio show by a crew called the Spectrum City Crew. And Spectrum City Crew was Public Enemy. Before they became Public Enemy, they were college radio DJs.
Oh, yeah. Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they had a college radio show. I think it was Adelphi University, So they had their own show, and Flavor was a host for his own show. It was called the MC DJ Flavor Show. And that was like from like 10 to 11. And then I think from like 11 to 1, it was the Spectrum City crew. And it was Chuck D, Terminator X at the time. His name was Melody. Keith Shockley, Hank Shockley, all those guys were up there. And Heartbeat by War was one of the songs that they would play. So I love that song because Melody would like, or Terminator X would like fucking scratch that record. I'm gonna make it real funky for you. So I always loved that song. So I connected with it. So when I started to create my routines, that was one of the songs that I wanted to now personalize and articulate the moves that I heard dudes like Melody on that song. I wanted to kind of create my own moves to say, look what I'm adding on to the inspiration that you gave me. So that's why the routines that you see of mine, Public Enemy, Nobody Beats the Biz, The Bridge, Blow Your Head routine, the Funky For You routine, if you study all 4 routines, I don't repeat any of the patterns. So the patterns that I do on Funky For You are unique, or I'm sorry, the patterns that I do on Heartbeat by War are unique to that song. Yeah. The patterns I do on Welcome to the Terradome are unique to that song. The patterns I do with the bridge and the Blow Your Head buzz sound are unique to that song. I don't repeat patterns. The patterns that you hear me do on Nobody Beats the Biz are unique to Nobody Beats the Biz. That's why I say I have patterns that I don't teach anyone.
Like the Prodigy stuff I see you. You work with Prodigy a lot, well, on Vinyl.
Yeah, right.
Because
Exactly.
he's from Queens.
Right, exactly. Prodigy. It's from Queens. I have that connection there. So you won't see me cutting electro beats.
No, I don't.
Because I don't connect with any of that. That's why to this day, I'll throw on Funky For You, even if it's for an audience full of millennials that don't even know who War is. That's
you though.
The routine is an extension of me, and when I'm on stage, I need to show you me, not. Well, you like electro, all right, so I'm gonna cut electro because you accept electro. No, I'm cutting Public Enemy, Heartbeat, MC Shan, Marley Marl. I'm cutting these records, Nobody Beats the Biz, because this is the music that I came up with, and this music is an extension of who I am and who I've become, and I have to be true to myself when I'm cutting, whether it's in the bedroom or live on stage. So whereas now you see dudes and they'll come up with a pattern and then they do the same exact pattern. Every post that you see of them on Instagram, they're doing the same exact pattern with different songs. You'll never see me do that. You'll never see me do that. I only apply patterns that work with the specific songs that I'm using. But I have a foundation in the root moves, so my brain knows how to communicate with my hands because I have the vocabulary down. I have the hand choreography down. So now when I go to practice, the root moves help me articulate or discover other movements. You know?
I see. So I know I'm something.
No, it's alright.
The beat, the fills, the manual fills that DJ Precision does are different than the fills the Total Eclipse does.
Correct.
Yeah? Because Precision doesn't do them rolling, but he continues through the tune like the Snoop Dogg Drop It Like It's Hot.
Right.
And I notice he always incorporates the up fader from one of the fills. So I'm gonna quickly go offside. I feel I'm getting to a point where I can start hearing fills now in beats. I feel I'm starting to hear like when we was at Table Turns, and I said to you, "Oh, that 16th note, right?" I'm starting to hear what people are doing.
Right.
I'm starting to hear. Precision, wasn't he the last person who added something to beat juggling? Because that style of fills, I didn't see anyone else do that.
No, Precision is a beast, and there's no other way to put it. And I feel like he's definitely intensified what a beat juggler does. And his whole philosophy is, I want to make what I do as hard as possible to recreate and copy.
Oh, wow.
You know?
I see.
So whereas me, I have more of a less is more mentality.
I noticed. Yeah.
If it's funky, leave it alone.
Yeah.
Just do what you need to do for it to sound funky.
Yeah.
Even if it's a simple move, just make sure it sounds funky. Precision's philosophy is, I want to make this so hard to recreate and copy
that no one else
will be able to figure this out. You know?
And that's why you don't see no one else use his style.
Right.
I see. Okay. Yeah, I'm cool for now. For questions wise, yeah.
Right on, dude. Yeah. Ready to practice?
Yeah.
Let's do this, man.
Sorry, one last thing.
Go ahead.
I feel like, as much as like you said, the techniques is a big percentage of it. The philosophy is a major part, man.
For sure, man.
It's a major part.
For sure. If I didn't have a mentor, man, if I didn't have Dr. Butcher talking to me the way I'm talking to you when I was 18, 19 years old, I don't think we'd be here. I don't think I would have developed an appreciation for what DJing can be. Because I was that average kid before I met Dr. Butcher. Yo, man, if I could do a pattern like Steve D, I was happy. And I would not try to push myself to flip the pattern harder. I just was happy that I learned the pattern that Steve D was doing. So from, I would say, the age of 12 to the age of 17, I started off copying my brother, then I was copying Flash, then I was copying Theodore, then I was copying Grandmixer DST, then I was copying Mixmaster Ice, then I was copying Jazzy Jeff, then I was copying Cash Money, then I was copying Cutmaster Swift, then I was copying Aladdin, then I was copying Marley Marl, Red Alert, Chuck Chillout, Steve D.
I see what you mean.
You know what I mean? I was just copying
at 98%.
Right, exactly. And then I met Butcher, and then I showed him how good I was at copying, and he was like, no disrespect, but this doesn't impress me. Because I know what Red Alert does. I know what Churchill does. Yeah, Aladdin is dope. That routine is dope. Steve D's dope. Yeah. I want to know what you do, Rob. What do you do?
I see.
And yo, my head fucking exploded. I was like, motherfucker, yo, for 7 years. From ages, or not 7, it was what, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. For 6 years, because I met Drew when I was 18, for 6 years, I was just copying the DJs that I looked up to. Right? So, and I wouldn't say that those 6 years were a waste, because I developed a lot of the technique that I apply today, like the hand control, muscle memory, right? So it wasn't necessarily a waste. But thank God I met Dr. Butcher, because he was like, yo, you're good, Rob, at copying. You need to be good at being creative. And I remember, I'll never forget, he was like, yo, God instilled in you your own sense of creativity. Tap into it. Because Steve D's no better than you as a human being, you know what I mean? Like, none of these guys that you look up to are like more gifted than you. They're people. So stop using them as your model for being dope. Like, you need to create your own model. He was like, yo, even me, like, don't look like I'll train with you and we'll have fun together, but like, look at me as your friend that practices with you. Don't look at me as Dr. Butcher and like, I want to be like Dr. Butcher. Like, he himself would tell me that, you know what I mean? Because he understood that I was very, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, I was an influential, I was easily influenced.
Yeah.
Not influential. You can
see that.
I was the person being influenced.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or impressionable is probably the word I'm trying to use. So because of that, he understood that, like, I gotta be careful how I talk to this kid, because he's just gonna want to be me, because he's been all these other guys. You know what I mean? So he's like, nah, dude, like, well, let's practice together, but Rob, trust me, dude, you're dope. You have so much potential. He would always tell me that. Thank God, because I started believing him, and that's when I started coming up with on my own fucking crazy routines. Nobody beats the Biz. I remember with the Biz, I went to his house. He came up with some patterns, certain moves. He was like, yo, Rob, here, take these records home. Take them. He was like, yo, there's shit in these. And I was like, all right. And I went home, and like a week or two later, I called him, yo, Drew. Put the phone to the speaker. I was like, yo, Drew, listen to this shit. And did all that shit. He was just like, oh, yes, Rob. Like, and yeah, like but if he hadn't instilled that confidence in me, I would have took the records home and just remembered the patterns that I just saw him do. I see. And never went beyond that. So when we train, dude, and I teach you a pattern, learn it, and then be like, all right, now where do I take it? Now what do I do? Root moves are just for you to understand how to communicate between your brain and your hands. That's it.
And when we say patterns, we mean like how you explained it on the rolling fills. Like we're gonna take the stems. So we may go, what can I say, chase, and then after one chase, do 2 drops on the breakdowns.
That's a pattern. And now that pattern, you can apply it to other songs, but don't get stuck applying a pattern that you do on one song to every other song that you practice with. The pattern just gave you a new vocabulary word. Now see what else you could do with the word. You know what I mean?
Like when we speak the word the, you learn it in primary school, but you don't always use it the same way.
Right.
You apply it all over
in a bunch of different ways. Right, exactly. So the root moves are just words that you fall back on when you're maybe practicing, trying to get like a feel for the sound of a record. So for example, let's say I have Impeach the President here, right? Mm-hmm. So I have this song here.
We have the honey dressers in the house.
So that's the offset backspin.
Yes, yeah.
Now, am I gonna get stuck doing the offset backspin, or am I gonna now, as I start to kind of get comfortable and feel out the sounds that are underneath my fingertips, now what can I do? Where can I take the offset backspin, right? So let's see.
So you can do, because there's a space there, so you can
you could fill, but then am I gonna feel like everyone else, right? So. See, everyone, or the majority of DJs practicing are gonna go to that one, and then fill it
from the one. Yeah.
See, but I don't want to be like the majority, right? See?
Yeah.
Now I just took the concept of filling somewhere else.
Because you didn't fill in the same part that everyone else.
Right, exactly. And you see that at first I fucked up. I made a mistake, but I had the confidence and the faith that there was something there. I just needed to stick with it. My brain already knows how to communicate with my hands. So stick with it until the pattern reveals itself. Now, the idea or the concept of filling with that hat, and then letting the hat take me to the snare, I can say, well, I created that, but that's not true. I stumbled across that move because to me the move was already there. Like the math is already there. I just gotta tap into it. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So whatever other pattern that I come up with from there, it exists. I just gotta be in the headspace to map it out and like, oh, okay, now I just discovered the puzzle to the other move that is hidden in this song, right? So let's see. heard the
I heard it.
I did like a little rewind, right?
The pullback, that was the note, yeah.
So it's a little offbeat. So you see what I'm saying? Like someone else would have been like, well, all my fills need to be forward scratches, and I'm like, no, why not pull the record back?
Yeah.
So and that concept, I'm not gonna say that I created it. It already exists. It's, can I tap into it? Am I in the headspace that allows me to try pulling the record back and getting that like reverse effect on the hat? And then you come here and then you try to add another step, you know? And then the juggle evolves.
So to translate, you're not going in thinking about root movements and how your hand's gonna go. You've put that in your muscle memory.
Exactly.
Now you're going in blank space. The muscle can do what it wants to do.
Right.
You're listening now. Yeah. And I'm gonna check.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. I get it. Does it always have to be kick, snare?
No.
'Cause the creativity can be kick, and then there's that. Some hip hop has that big space and then the snare. And I see Precision, like, because he's so fast, he can like create an extra beat and make a fill off that.
I mean, kick, snare is like a staple drum sequence in hip hop.
Yeah, it is.
But you know, I don't have to go to the kick. I could start from the hat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I didn't know when I first put Impeach the President on the turntable, I didn't know that I'd end up here. You know what I mean? I didn't know that you were gonna ask me, well, do you start on the kick always? And that I was gonna answer, no, I don't have to. Let me go to the hat. And that I was gonna create that.
Yeah.
Or stumble across it. But you put me in the mental space to tap into that. You see how that works?
Yeah.
Now, if you would have asked me another question, I wouldn't have went to that mental space and come up with this. So now I would have went a practice session without tapping into this little pattern on this hat. I would have been in another different mental space.
So you're having dialogue with yourself as well on the turntables.
Always. It's and that's why, like, I tell people, when you practice, make sure that you're having fun. If you're not having fun, if you're practicing because you have pressure to come up with something for a battle, showcase or whatever, chances are you're not going to be creative. But you, again, put me in a mental space of fun. We just had the coolest conversation about DJing, and it took us like, I don't know, 30 minutes, maybe a little more before we even started cutting. These are the kind of conversations I would have with Butcher. I would go to his house, sit down, and we talk before we even touched the turntables. So we would get ourselves in the right mental space, and then we get up and practice, and then he'd be, yo, Rob, let's forget what we know. Okay. Let's practice. And then we would come up with shit. It's a process. It's not just, I gotta come up with something. Oh, fuck. You know what I mean? It's Turntable Tuesday. I gotta post something to IG by 9 o'clock so that I could get likes. Oh, yo. You know what I mean? It's not, you're doing it out of like a chore. And you're not doing it because it's fun. You're not in the mental space that you need to be. Okay. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, let's start.
Yeah, man, let's do it. So where do you want to continue building off that top billing?
Yeah, yes please.